We have been told that this stuff is healthy, like even essential. But for kids with ADHD, it could be one of the most disruptive things to their diet. Most parents have absolutely no idea how much dairy could be affecting their child's ADHD symptoms. But once you learn the science, you can't unsee it. We're talking mood swings, we're talking meltdowns, brain fog, gut issues, all from something most kids drink or eat every single day. Now, if you are tuning in, let me know, does your child drink milk or have products with dairy in it? When I first removed dairy from my son's ADHD diet, my ADHD son's diet, I was skeptical, I have to admit, okay? But within just weeks, the changes in his ADHD symptoms were undeniable. Now, if you're parenting a child with ADHD and you've been doing everything right, but the symptoms are still not budging, dairy might be the missing piece. So in this live training today, I'm going to show you exactly why. So stick around. I know I've got some questions popping up in the chat here. Just for those that don't know me, my name is Dana Kay. I'm a board certified health and nutrition practitioner. And I specialize in helping families with kids with ADHD reduce symptoms naturally without medication. So I can see what kind of doctor does someone get diagnosed who have ADHD. I would say a neuropsych eval, you want to get done by a specialist, not just go to your general pediatrician. Someone else is asking, is there a test that they do for ADHD? Yes, there is specific testing that you need to get done. Now, after helping over 1,500 families and seeing it firsthand with my own son, I can tell you removing dairy can be a game changer. And I'm going to break it down for you today. Okay, I'm going to talk about why dairy is so inflammatory, especially for kids with ADHD. I am going to let you know the red flags that your child may be reacting to it, what to eat instead, and how to get started without getting overwhelmed. So I'm going to dive in. Now, most people think dairy issues are caused by lactose intolerance. I know many of you probably have heard of that. Let me know in the chat if you have heard of lactose intolerance. You know, things like stomach aches, bloating, gas. But for kids with ADHD, the bigger issue isn't always lactose. Sometimes it's something called A1 beta casein. Okay, this is a protein in most cow's milk that breaks down into a compound called BCM7. And it is a type of something called a casomorphin. And you know what it does? It acts in the brain like a weak opioid. Yes, opioid, as in the same class as morphine. So in kids with leaky gut, and that's a lot of kids with ADHD, these casomorphins can cross the gut lining. They can enter the bloodstream. They can bind to the opioid receptors in the brain. Okay, I mean, that's scary. It can trigger this emotional dysregulation. It can trigger focus issues, cravings for cheese and milk, mood swings, brain fog. So no, it's not just cheese. It's actually a chemical that literally changes how your child's brain functions. Now, here's why kids with ADHD react more strongly. Children with ADHD often struggle with gut inflammation, detoxification issues, immune dysregulation, nutrient deficiencies. And if you add dairy to the mix, it's like kind of, I don't know, pouring gasoline on a fire. Now, along with containing that A1 beta casein, cow's milk also naturally contains over 35 hormones and growth factors. Okay, that includes estrogen, progesterone, IGF-1, which is insulin-like growth factor number one. It contains adrenal and pituitary hormones. And why does it contain all of that? Because milk from a cow is designed to grow a baby calf into a 1,000-pound animal in less than a year. So, how long does it take to grow a baby into an adult, a human? 21 years, 18, 21, 25 years, I don't know. So it makes sense for a calf to drink it. But for a child with ADHD, especially one with those detoxification challenges or hormone imbalance, that hormone load can overwhelm the body and dysregulate their nervous system. So even organic or raw milk still contains these hormones. And that's just how milk works. Okay. So when you see big emotions or sensory overload, it's not just behavior, it's your child's body under stress. Now, I know some of you watching might be thinking, but isn't dairy good for the bones? This is one of the biggest myths out there today. We're told by the dairy farmers that milk is essential for calcium and bone health, but studies, including those from the World Health Organization, actually say otherwise. Now, in fact, animal protein like dairy can actually leach calcium from the bones in certain conditions. So instead, strong bones come from exercise, plant-rich diets, and key nutrients like vitamin D, magnesium, and K2. So no, your child doesn't need dairy alone for strong bones. Now, you're probably also asking, I get a lot, what about raw milk? What about A2 milk? Okay, this comes up a huge amount. Raw milk is less processed. This is true, but it still contains casein and natural hormones. A2 milk, it removes the A1 protein, which is better, but not completely safe either for our sensitive kids. So while these might be less bad, they're still inflammatory for many of our neurodivergent kids. Now, if your child is constantly craving dairy or you're seeing emotional dysregulation despite everything else you're doing, it's definitely worth a try to remove it. So, how do you know if dairy is actually affecting your child? I'm going to give you some signs that I most see with the families that I work with in my practice and in my own home. There are behavioral signs like aggression, meltdowns, trouble focusing, mood swings. There's also physical signs like constipation, eczema, dark circles under the eyes, runny nose, asthma, or congestion. You don't need to have all of those symptoms to be suffering from, a dairy sensitivity. But also, I want you to remember that most dairy sensitivities, they won't show up on an allergy test because these are inflammatory reactions, not classic IgE allergies. Hope it's making sense so far. Let me know in the chat if you've got any questions. I am going to just pop over to see if there are any questions on my other platform. It doesn't look like it. You're so welcome. Now, if you do, just pop them in the comments. I can answer them for you. So let's get practical because removing dairy doesn't have to feel like deprivation. In fact, there are so many great swaps out there. My own son loves, my own family loves. So going dairy-free does not mean missing out. There are a ton of dairy-free options like coconut milk, almond milk, cashew milk, oat milk. You just want to watch out for added gums and sugars. A few of my favorite dairy-free milk brands include, what have I got here? I've got Elmhurst. This is a really good one, as you can see here. I have got Mulk. That's another really, really good one there. There is Three Trees. There's Kiki, Forager, Muala, Aroy D, Nutty Life, and Good Milk Company. Now, what about cheese? Okay, let's be real. Cheese is the comfort food. And yes, it's the hardest one to replace. But even picky eaters can learn to live without it and they can thrive. Now, keep in mind, most dairy-free cheeses won't be exact copies of real cheese, but some come close. And I've got a couple of brands that my family loves, things like Kite Hill, Miyoko's, Violife, Daya, and Follow Your Heart. Now, when starting out, it's sometimes easier just to skip cheese altogether until their taste buds adjust. Then you can slowly try a few swaps and see what works for your family. And if your child is a picky eater, that's okay. You don't have to swap everything at once. Just start small. Maybe start with milk first. You could even do 3/4 normal milk and 1/4 dairy-free milk. And then when their taste buds adjust, you could do half dairy milk, half normal milk. Okay. Then you can move to yogurt, do the same thing, then to cheese. Someone's saying, how can parents help preteen and teens deal with emotional challenges of being different at such a tender age? That is a really, really great question. And something that what we want to do is we want them to feel good in their own body. Okay. And all of these things that I talk about on my Instagram channel will help them feel really good in their own body. And role playing is a really, really great way to do that as well in the house, and looking at those social situations that they're in how they may be able to respond differently. And practicing that at home can actually help so much. We actually don't think about that, do we? We don't practice with our children social situations that they may not be able to function in very well. I find that role playing can really help with those challenges in knowing how they should respond. Hopefully that helps. Now, here's something that I wish I had known sooner. Over 50% of kids that react to gluten also react to dairy, because both damage the gut lining, both trigger immune responses, inflammatory reactions, both disrupt neurotransmitters like that dopamine and that serotonin. And when we removed both gluten and dairy out of my son's diet, it was a turning point for my son, Oliver. He was calmer. He was sleeping so much better. He was more focused. His emotional dysregulation that you were just talking about was the first thing that changed. It got so much better. So if you've already tried gluten-free but you haven't seen the full results yet, this might be why. But again, I want to give you this reminder: you don't have to do everything in day one. You don't have to go all in on overnight. Swap your milk. Then maybe try a new snack or replace cheese in one recipe this week. You can totally keep it simple. You can track what changes. You can celebrate every win. Hi. And if you want help, I'm happy to support you along the way. Check out my website, ADHDthriveinstitute.com. I have lots of great gluten and dairy-free recipes on there to help you get started. If your child's ADHD symptoms feel stuck, despite all of your best efforts, dairy could be a hidden trigger. Removing dairy isn't about doing more or adding more to your plate. It's about doing what works. So just do a trial removal, pay attention to what shifts, and get support along the way. I know that you've probably tried so much already and you deserve to see progress. And if dairy is the thing that's holding your child back, imagine what could open up if it's gone. So hopefully this live has been helpful for you guys. Make sure you follow me here, follow my account, because I go live every week at this same time, answering all of your questions about ADHD. If you've got specific questions, you can send me a DM, and next week I might cover your question off then. But I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner, and I will see you next week. Take care.